Look closely at the edge of the celebration, just past the man everyone came to see. There's a 22-year-old with a quiet face and a winner's medal already around his neck. A boy who, 6 months before this night, was a name even Argentina wasn't sure about. What he did in this tournament changed that forever. 6 months earlier, most of the planet couldn't have picked him out of a lineup. So who is he, and how did he get here? He is the striker who never looked like a superstar, quiet substance over flash, and became one anyway. This is the story of a village boy who won everything before the world learned his name. You'll see a 6-goal night that broke Argentine football, a gamble that walked away from English royalty, and the question a whole country is asking right now, and the move he made to stop being someone's partner and start being the main man. But first, the smallest of details. Because the answer starts in a town almost nobody outside Argentina can find on a map. Julian Alvarez is born on the 31st of January 2000 in Calcin, a town of a few thousand people in Cordoba, Argentina. And here's the first strange thing. He was so small, so quiet. Nothing about him screamed future superstar. Yet, reportedly, as a boy, he was so gifted he played years above his own age group, a child among older kids, and still the best on the pitch. So River Plate, one of Argentina's giants, hundreds of kilometers away, reportedly tracked this tiny prodigy from far off. But wanting him and keeping him were two different things. Because a small boy from a small town leaving home young is a gamble. Homesickness ends more careers than any defender ever could. He joins River's setup in 2016, and he doesn't shrink. He grows, quietly, relentlessly, until the first team can't ignore him. By 2018, he breaks through, not with noise, with movement, with runs, with goals that arrived before anyone noticed the danger. The fans give him a nickname that sticks forever, La Arana, the spider, for the way his limbs seem to reach the ball from nowhere. And the spider spins fast. A star of Argentine football, scoring freely, dragging River through matches almost on his own. In one game for River, he reportedly scores 6 times. 6. Suddenly, the boy from Calcin is the most wanted young forward in the country. But being the best in Argentina and surviving in Europe are not the same test. Plenty of River wonder kids have crossed the ocean and drowned. So when the call comes from one of the biggest clubs on earth, the question isn't whether he's good enough at home. It's whether he'll ever get a chance abroad. January 2022. Manchester City sign Julian Alvarez. The reigning force of English football, Pep Guardiola's machine, and a squad already stacked with attackers who'd walk into almost any team on the planet. So where does a quiet 22-year-old from a town of a few thousand actually fit? For a lot of new signings, the answer is the bench, and then nowhere. But watch him when he does get on. The running never stops. He presses, he links, he arrives late in the box like the spider he's always been. He makes himself impossible to leave out, not by demanding the spotlight, but by doing the work no one applauds. And that habit, the selfless one, is about to be tested on the biggest stage of all. Because a World Cup is coming, and his country is not sure it needs him. Qatar, 2022. This is Lionel Messi's tournament, his last real shot at the one trophy he's never lifted. The whole nation holds its breath for him. And it starts in disaster. Argentina lose their opening game, a result that shakes the entire campaign. Something has to change. So the coach reaches for the quiet one. Julian Alvarez is thrust into the team, not as a star, but as a spark. And he takes it. The relentless running, the clever movement, the finishing, suddenly Argentina look alive again. In the knockout rounds, the Spider strikes. A goal in the round of 16, a scrambled, hunted-down finish that only a striker who never quits ever scores. But the further you go, the harder it gets. Now comes the semi-final, and this is where a career can define itself in 90 minutes. Watch this. He picks the ball up, drives through the heart of Croatia, bodies bouncing off him, and finishes it himself. And he scores again in that semi-final, one of them from a Messi assist. The old master and the young Spider, side by side. The boy from Calcin has scored in the knockout rounds of a World Cup, and Argentina are into the final. Which brings us back to where we started. The confetti, the medal, the 22-year-old at the edge of the frame. Argentina are world champions, and Julian Alvarez, who 6 months earlier was a name only diehards knew, is one of them at just 22. He didn't do it by being the star, he did it by being the runner, the finisher. The one who arrived when it mattered and slipped away when it didn't. But here's the trap that catches so many. Win the World Cup young, and everything after can feel like an anticlimax. So what does he do next? He goes back to Manchester and does the humble thing all over again, because now there's Erling Haaland, a goal-scoring giant who takes up all the room. So the world champion becomes the tireless runner beside him, dropping deep, covering ground, doing the invisible work that lets the machine hum. And it works. In 2023, City win the treble, the league, the cup, and the Champions League, and Alvarez is right there in the middle of it. A World Cup and a treble before the age of 24. On paper, a dream. But dreams have a catch. Because a man can win everything and still not be the main man. And the Spider had spent his whole life being the best player on his own terms. Rotated, shifted wide, asked to serve. For a quiet character, he never made a fuss. But the question grew louder every week. Could he step out of the shadow of a legend at club and country, or was he destined to always be the perfect supporting act? This was the turn, the moment the story could have quietly settled or split wide open. 2024, he walks away from the champions of everything and signs for Atletico Madrid. It's a gamble, and everyone knows it. Leave a machine that wins everything to chase something harder, the chance to be the main man in your own right. And in Madrid, the runner finally gets the ball at his feet. Diego Simeone hands in the center of the attack, and the Spider spreads out. Now watch the difference. He's not just pressing and covering. He's turning, driving, dropping shoulders, pulling the strings. The finishing that lit up the World Cup now comes with the freedom to shoot from anywhere. Free kicks, long range, both feet. The quiet substance is still there, the work rate never left. But layered on top of it now is the swagger of a man carrying a team. For the first time in his career, the crowd chants his name because he is the reason they came, not the runner beside a star, the star. So, he'd answered the club question, but there was a bigger one waiting, one that had followed him since Qatar. Because for years, Argentina's story was one man's story, and that man cannot play forever. When the light finally begins to dim on the greatest of all, who carries the blue and white? Who becomes the one the whole nation leans on? The quiet kid from the edge of that 2022 frame has grown into the answer, step by step, the way he does everything. 2026, the World Cup returns. And Argentina arrive as the reigning champions. This time Julian Alvarez is not the surprise off the bench. He is one of the leaders of the team everyone wants to beat. The weight has shifted onto shoulders that were once too small for a kid years above his age. And Argentina reach the knockout rounds. Where it goes from here, nobody can promise. The knockouts are cruel, and the story is still being written. But think about how far the frame has moved. In 2022 he stood at the edge of another man's celebration. Now the camera finds him in the center. The boy from Calcin who never looked the part, standing where the talisman is supposed to stand. He went from a village of a few thousand to the center of Argentina's frame, from carrying water to carrying expectations.
And the last question, the one this whole film has been circling, is the one nobody can answer yet. Can the quiet one, the selfless runner, the spider from Cordoba, become Argentina's own talisman, and carry a nation the way he once carried the water? If this story stayed with you, subscribe to Beyond the Boots for more. The boots tell the story.
We just follow the footsteps.